cheap bridges, they always get the balls stuck in there. It looks like somebody washed it with a milkshake. So, friend of a friend sold his house and was going to leave behind a couple things in the basement. There were a couple practice amps, a PV drum set, and this left-handed Jay Turser Strat copy. Now, my friend and I can leave no instrument behind, so he loaded them up, brought them home for future projects. He handed this guitar over to me to get it in playing shape, but let me know if you want to see us hack up and customize that drum set. I worked on a yard sale Turser last year. It was surprisingly fun and a well-built starter guitar, so don't sleep on a Jay Turser. Anyway, it's a tad rusty and filthy as well, but the neck is pretty straight. There's no signs of water damage on it at all. It looks like it was hardly ever played, actually. So my goal is to get it playing for the cost of like the strings only. I have a lot of Stratty parts here in the shop if I need them, and I'll give it a good cleanup and a spot-on setup. So let's get cracking. Alright, first up, let's see if it makes some noise. We're up in the neck position there. And we got neck. Yep. Yep. Alright, volume pot's a little bit scratchy, but other than that, it works. Let's start with breaking this down into its individual parts. Clean each of them individually. Makes sense, right? A lot of this rusted hardware down here, these rusted screws, I'm just going to replace. It's not, you know, a desirable guitar. It's not a vintage Fender. I don't think it's going to be a big deal if I replace the hardware. These cheap bridges, they always get the balls stuck in there. Had to come off anyway. Ball. Pretty oxidized. In the end, it was a finish nail. Always keep finish nails around. 100 uses. Look how gouged that is. Out of there. It's a weak excuse for a shim put in too. I'll show you. It's just gouged out right here. Can't imagine somebody would mod that. Must be factory. ZX4. They put a piece of sandpaper in there for a shim. So it may appear that this guitar is black. I don't know if on the camera, but even when I first saw it, and then the pictures that my friend sent me, it looked very black, and up close it's actually a very dark navy blue. It's kind of cool. I like the color. One. Can I get them all? 2. 3. Not bad. tape there to keep everything from flopping around. I don't want to disconnect all the electronics. They seem to work pretty good. I'm just going to clean them out, but I want to flip it over to get the rest of the bridge out. Look at all the rust that came out here on my bench. So this bridge is pretty rusty. I have minimal bridge parts here, so I'm going to try to reuse what I can. And I'm just going to go right ahead and take these little saddle screws right out. They're all pretty stuck there. I wouldn't have been able to move them once I got it strung up, so we'll do it now. We'll get the oxidation off of them. I'll try to get the rust off the springs. Maybe even the screws. I might actually have these screws replaceable, but I might try to save them. Yeah, every single one of these is a little bit seized. So by spinning them now without the pressure of the springs, I'm able to at least clean the threads out a little bit on them. I could go right with that, but I'd rather get the oxidation off of them. Get a little oil on them too when I'm putting them back in. Well, I got it all broken down and sorted out. This pile of hardware I'm going to put in some vinegar to try to get that rust off of there. This is like pickup springs, saddle screws, neck screws, stuff like that. Stuff I don't want to replace. Onto the chrome stuff, I'm going to hit that with some chrome polish. Should clean up nicely. On the fretboard of the neck, I'm going to use the Howard Feed and Wax. It's got all the minerals, vitamins, bee vomit your neck needs. The back of the neck and the headstock, I'll probably use the Sprayway glass cleaner and the spray wax. On the body, got to bring out the big guns. That's the all-purpose cleaner. It looks like somebody washed it with a milkshake. We'll probably follow that up with some spray wax. On the plastics, I'm going to bring these up to the sink. A little bit of a toothbrush and some Dawn warm water, and they should clean up pretty good. You don't want to use hot water. There's the potential that, you know, they could warp on you. So let me get these into some vinegar and I'll crack on. Just wanted to kind of point out how off these tuners are installed. I went with the stock holes there. I'm not going to try to drill new ones, but you can see this one's pretty straight. That one's pretty straight. That one's going that way. That one's going a little bit that way. These four middle ones are all kind of pointing that way. Oh well. Alright, that body came out pretty good. Cleaning these pots, I'm just going to use some deoxit spray. Spray it in the open holes. And just twist it, work it, work it, work it. Usually about all it takes. And even though the volumes weren't crackling, we'll get those two. The pickguard came out pretty good. There was a couple spots where the rust stain wouldn't come off, so I just used a little magic eraser. I didn't want to go too hard because that is an abrasive, but I was able to clean it up a little bit. I got the bridge reassembled. It's now shiny, de-rusted, and the screws move freely. It's ready to be reinstalled, and it's held in by 6 screws here. I'll put those in now, but how tight they are is kind of key to a good setup. So let me start by getting these in place, but I won't tighten them up all the way. Alright, the bridge is sitting in there loosely. Screws are almost all the way down. I want to just make contact with the bridge, and when it starts lifting up a little bit, like that, I want to just back off. Go to the next one. It starts lifting. Right there, back off. I don't want them perfectly tight because then you're not going to be able to do the wibble wobble with the trim, you know. but I want them all to be even. I want this whole bridge to, when it touches the screws, touch all 6 screws at the same time. There, back. Lift up and back. Lift up and back. 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 There. Now it's got the ability to go up and down. And we'll leave it right there, and we can put the springs on the back. I'm going to sit in there loose right now. I haven't put any tension here on the claw. I'll put a little tension now, so it doesn't slip off. Won't put too much on there yet. So I'm ready to string it up in plot twist. I'm stringing it up backwards. I mean the other way. Reverse. Not left but right. You know what I mean. I left some clues to that through the video. If you're an astute viewer, you may have picked up on that. Now, when I got this from my friend, I said, cool, I'll clean it up and put it together, you know, for a left-handed player comes over to your jam room, they'll have a guitar to play. He said, no, that hasn't ever happened in the 30-plus years he's had the jam room. So with all the players he's had there, that situation has never come up. Even the rare lefty he's had over has just brought their own guitar. So he wants this strung up right-handed. Maybe it'll strike some interest for someone there to play. Whatever I do to it is totally reversible, so I'm not damaging it in any way. Plus, it's not a rare, desirable guitar. It's a Jay Turser. No harm, no foul. The nut ended up being cracked anyway. I got a comparable replacement in my stash. I'll just install it backwards. I mean, reverse. The other way. The right way. You know what? Just occurred to me, which way do I wind it? I gotta wind it that way, the opposite way. Alright. I heard you. Well, that was awkward. Some parts were like easier than normal, and some parts just felt weird. Alright, next spot on our tour. Let's do something about this neck. Now, if you can see, when I put it back in there, I tightened up the screws, and it's very close to the edge here, but I have a really kind of large gap on this side. So I want to turn this neck a little bit that way. Just kind of whoop, like that. So we'll just give these a little tweak out. be able to just move that into position and tighten it up. If any look, my gap's a little closer. Yeah, much more even on each side. Maybe I could go over a little more. Got it much closer, even on both sides now. And we can move on to tuning it up and setting the springs on the back. Start by tuning it up. It's close to tune, and as I predicted with the loose springs on the back, the bridge lifted up. So what I want to do is tighten up those springs until the bridge starts coming down a little bit, and then I'm going to retune it. Right now I'm not doing anything with tuning or intonation. I'm just trying to get the tension correct between the springs on the back and the strings on the front. And I can keep going. Take a little break here and retune. Take this opportunity to detune. Try to get some more tension off of that. Just a little bit tighter. With the correct tension between the strings and the springs, I'm able to do the trim, and it comes back to tune. I'm going to still have to do a couple more tweaks to it, but I want to start working on intonation, and you don't need to see all that. So next thing I need to do is do the intonation, set the string height, and I can trim off my excess string down here so I don't play Kerry King, and then glue that nut in where it needs to be. Proceeding. So at the beginning of this video I stated that Jay Tursers are decent guitars, that they make great starter guitars, and I stand by that statement. Let me list the reasons why. When you plug it into an amp, it produces sound, which is always a big plus for me. That's what you want. Next, the necks are really comfy and the frets aren't razor sharp on the ends, you know. The frets also seem to be set correctly on these things. None are riding higher than the others. I've worked on Epiphones, Squires, and PVs that have terrible fret work, like right from the factory. They press them, forget them, send them. So I went through this whole neck. Everything looks and feels great. There's no unnecessary buzz, and you're not going to cut your hands. Lastly, the finishes look just fine on them. The places you can see anyway. The places you're not meant to see look subpar. But I mean, they're not using world-class, materials here, but it functions as it should. Now, is a JT going to be my regular ride? Heck no. But they're playable, is all I'm saying. If you're playing a sketchy gig, you wouldn't be put out if this thing went missing. That kind of thing, Somebody trips on stage, falls on it, and snaps the neck. Oh well, get another Jay Turser. I ended up putting a fourth spring in there just to kind of give it a little bit more stabilization. I think that'll help in the long run. I'm going to use new hardware to put this on too. Why not? If you notice, I've been using a hand screwdriver as I've been doing reassembly, and that's because I want to be able to feel where the screws are going, how tight they're going. I don't want to fire them in there with my Milwaukee, you know. But now would be a great time, you know, to give me a like on this or subscribe. If you give me a subscribe, you'll be able to see this thing coming up. Don't that look pretty? But you can only see that much of it. Get some distortion. Which one of these? That one. Well, there you are, a left-handed Jay Turser, saved from the basement, made right again, or made right now, flipped up and reversed. How about that? Like Missy Elliott. Well, somebody can get their Jimmy on, just isn't going to be me. I find this stuff gets in the way. So I want to thank you for joining me. Give me a thumbs up for filming it for you, and we'll talk again soon.
That's why I say you gotta put this thing. That's hard. That's in the way, folks.